Good morning. Now I will discuss what is Hadoop and how this Hadoop is related to the big data. When we discuss about the challenges of the big data, the major challenges is storage problem, processing problem, analyzing use volume of the data. So this Hadoop is the technology which is providing a systematic solution to the big data storage, because it is providing a solution with respect in terms of the storage, processing as well as analyzing the data, right? Hadoop is the open source framework which is from the Apache. Initially it was initiated by the design itself is completed by the Docketing and Mike. So the authors is initiated or initially they designed the Hadoop structure. So there are three components of the Hadoop, that is Hadoop HDFS, Hadoop MapReduce and Hadoop Yarn. How this is providing a solution, how this data analysis, handling, storage, everything we will discuss in the Hadoop architecture. So this is only the what is Hadoop introduction, and basically it is introduction as well as how it is related to the big data. So the three major components of the Hadoop is, one is Hadoop HDFS, Hadoop MapReduce and Hadoop Yarn. So this HDFS is focusing on the storage unit. It is discussing about the processing unit, that is nothing but a MapReduce. When it is Yarn, it is about the resource management unit. In the architecture, we will deeply discuss, we will go deeper about this HDFS, MapReduce and Yarn. So the three major components is providing a solution to the problem which is involved, which is there in big data. So what is the main objective? I said it is providing a solution in three respects. And what is the basic objective of the data? So we will give a small example. So that will give you a great explanation to the Hadoop and objective. What I mentioned here is a fruit basket example. This is a very smallest and easiest example. Everyone can able to remember this. What is the fruit basket example is? Let us assume that a single person is accessing a single variety of the fruit. So that is, let us assume he is accessing one fruit, that is orange. He is accessing one variety of the fruit, that is orange. Whenever the client is requesting orange fruits, he can deliver because he is handling a single variety of the fruit. So one person can able to access a single variety of the data. Okay. When he is trying to access, is supposed to be more than 20, 30, 40 varieties of the fruits. In that case, the person, a single human resource is not enough to access, and also when he is handling a single variety of the data, amount of space which is required is enough. Whatever it is there. When he is supposed handling huge varieties, the space constraint is the big problem. So we need that much space for storage as well as accessing also we need a resource. So single person handling a single variety or a smaller number or a least number of varieties is fine. When he is handling large varieties, that too different varieties, and the storage is a problem, and the resources, whatever the persons is handling the data or accessing the data, either it is a rough data or is fruits. So that is a big task. Big problems is we identified, that is a storage, another one is accessing of the data. So this fruit basket example is giving addressing the two issues. Now convert this fruit example in terms of the data that we are gathering from we gather from the different sources, that is a structured data, unstructured, semi-structured, these varieties of the data which is coming from the different sources. Now this is according to this Brasseg's example. So now assume that HDFS, so itself it is I told you it is about the storage unit. So HDFS is a storage source for the map reduce. We will discuss what is map reduce and in the architecture of it. So generally whatever the data which is coming from, so it is dividing the data in terms of the different files. We can say that it is distributed, the data which is coming from the source which is distributed. So that distributed data is supposed to be stored in different blocks of the data. So later we can access using, let us assume that there is an index, if suppose so there is an address, we can access the data in late, right? So likewise, by providing a distributed system, file system, the data is distributed into different blocks. So he can able to store the data. So once the fruits are arranged, when he is handling a 500 to 1000 varieties or 50-100 varieties of the data, so he is supposed to arranged in a proper manner. Later he can access. Whenever the customer is requesting for a particular fruit, he can deliver easily because it was organized and the reason index provision is there and the resources is available, he can. Now how this big data, let us see how this big data is related to the Hadoop. We know that the data generation. What about the data generation? Coming to the compared to the olden days, now the data is tremendously increased. The data growth is high rate of data growth is there. So that likewise, if you compare the varieties of the fruits, the data is growth, varieties is more now. Now the single person is not able to handle because of the storage issue as well as the varieties. Like assume here there are some processor 1, processor 2, processor 3. There are 3 varieties of the data that was stored in a one database. Now a single processor, a single person is not able to access. So what is the ultimate solution? When we increase the human resource to handle the large varieties of the fruits, likewise we increase the number of processors, the multiple processors are involved now. Is these processors are trying to access the data, that is varieties of the data. Okay, nothing but multiple machines we are using here. Now again a problematic thing is observed and addressed here. So what is the bottleneck here is resulting is whenever the network overhead generation, any overheads is there in the networks. So what is the solution again? How can we the processor can able to access the data? Because all these machines is parallelly running and these machines need a resource from where? This database only. So that is when, how these are all these processors requesting the machine, the database. So again there is a network overheads definitely will be there. So that can be solved by this Hadoop framework. Let us see this example. So here what we did, there is, please remember the two terms that we are addressing here is parallel processing and distributed storage. The two, if you remember these two names itself, you can frame an answer for this Hadoop and how it is providing a solution to the big data. So these varieties of this data, that is structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, that was distributed. I told you there is a distributed file system is there in Hadoop HDFS. The data which is coming from the different resources which is distributed, that too, and the result data is increased now. So we obviously we need a multiple processor. So multiple processors is taking the data, that too it is distributed, data is distributed. So this processor need so and so data he can. So if the person assume that, if processor assume that he is the one person, when he is trying to access some variety of the fruit, he can access a variety of the fruit he can deliver to the customer because it was distributed. The data is distributed in terms of the some basic character, like assume it can tell that it is a clustered. So now whenever it is requested, whenever it was requested by the any processor, the data can be given, accessed. So parallel processing is also running here, and there is another thing is mentioned here is distributed system. The data is distributed. So the method of handling is simply called parallel processing with the distributed storage. So this likewise there is a such key importance is there in Hadoop. So it is providing a systematic solution. That's why that is the reason I said that Hadoop is closely related to the big data, because this distributed system is providing such a solution to the processor or to the multiple machines to access the data. Whenever there is any overheads, definitely there will be overheads because of such a huge data will be available that is coming from the different number of resources. So basic advantages if we discuss, that is expandability, high cost efficiency, strong flexibility, and high fault tolerance. So we will discuss these advantages clearly when we discuss about the architecture of the Hadoop. So once we start with the advantages, then we will go with the Hadoop architecture. Thank you.